Lots of projects have been greenlit, and some of the projects have become one with the Force. And in case you missed it, there may have been some big news involving Kathleen Kennedy. Welcome to What Culture's Rebel Roundup. Well, hello there, my fellow rebels, Jedis, and Sith. I'm your Walmart Obi-Wan Kenobi, according to some. I am also known as CJ, but we'll go with the original one they said. And I'm joined by a man who has so many Dave Filoni hats, had to get a second house. No, not really. But how we doing, Luke? Welcome
Yep.
to the
Pretty
podcast once again.
pretty good, man. Really looking forward to getting into the meat and potatoes here today because it's been a big week, right?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting week for Star Wars. And if you haven't heard about what's been going on, where have you been? It's been crazy. But we're not going to get into the big Kathleen Kennedy news just yet because there have been a whole bunch of other bits of news as well that we want to talk about. So let's get straight into it so we can talk about the big news in the second part of the show. But first bit of news involves Star Wars Starfighter, a movie that isn't coming out until 2027. But Tom Cruise has been on set and helped give away something we didn't know. And he directed a lightsaber duel. Well, first of all, Tom Cruise going on set. Could we expect a sneaky cameo? And number two, there are lightsabers in Star Wars Starfighter. How did you react to this news?
Man came whirling in on his helicopter, apparently, landed right in the middle of the action. And when I heard he was doing a little scene, I was a bit like, oh, is this going to be like saying a cameo or whatever? But no, really cool to hear that he was down in the nitty gritty in the dirt filming this lightsaber fight. And as you say, big news that there is going to be a lightsaber fight in Starfighter, right?
And it means, do we have some, well, maybe not Jedi and Sith, but I think it's going to be more on the Force sensitive. I think it's going to be all about Force sensitive people, and they will be kind of good or bad. They won't be trained, they'll just have good and bad intentions. But that leads to Flynn Gray's character, the young kid, um, being a Force sensitive, and Ryan Gosling is trying to get him to maybe Luke's training grounds or something like that. Could that be a
Maybe.
possibility?
Maybe, but I'm fixated on the idea, mate, of Mia Goth wielding a red lightsaber, maybe as some kind of witch, Night Sister, whatever.
Are
I
they
think it
gonna
should be.
do the most obvious where Mia is the Sith? Could they do a huge twist where Ryan Gosling is taking the kid to maybe a Sith camp and Mia Goth is trying to rescue him? Like, really flip the expectations here? Because you think
Possibilities.
Mia Goth, you're gonna think, very gothic in looks as well in the films that she does. You'd expect her to be the Sith, but who's to say that Ryan Gosling isn't the bad guy and they flip it around? That would be really cool.
Tom Cruise coming in to do a scene. What did you think, CJ?
Oh, isn't he a little bit short to be a stormtrooper though? That's the only problem. But honestly, I think Rey's gonna rebuild Luke's training grounds, and that's where they're gonna head. I honestly can see because it is set during the post Force Awakens times.
Yes, it's the first piece of visual media we'll get, which is set post the sequel trilogy. Yeah.
Mm. And I can really see that's where they're kind of going, and that's going to be they're going to do training. But honestly, I would love for them to play with expectations and have it where Ryan Gosling was the bad guy all along. Highly unlikely, but weirder things have happened. But lightsabers,
Well, it keeps the run
Force.
going as well, mate, because although it's
Mm,
right at the end of Solo, of course, there is a lightsaber with Darth Maul at the end. So
mhm.
every single Star Wars film, there is at least one lightsaber.
Yeah, and I don't like Andor didn't have any sort of
No.
well, I suppose towards the end they had that medic who kind of saw the future in a sense, but they weren't very heavy on the force and lightsabers.
Mm.
And I loved Andor about that. This one, Star Wars Starfighter, everyone's kind of getting excited, think it's going to be more kind of like a Poe Dameron, Han Solo, space fight flight kind of movie. But it does look like we are getting a little bit of the kind of Jedi Sith storyline once again, but hopefully it isn't the major focus. Would you prefer more Force and lightsaber duels, or would you prefer more grounded away from the Force story?
I just want fun, mate. And if it's going to be in the cinema, I want it to be fun. And I think actually that's what maybe this new story was trying to inject. Just
Mm.
the visual like that they're playing with the idea of Tom Cruise jetting in to do this big scene, letting slip that his lightsabers, etc. I think they're sort of trying to say, hey, look, this is the kind of film it's going to be. We've got Ryan Gosling, he's a big star. You know, they're not trying to set it up as a small tale. It's going to be a cinema epic, I think.
And talking about that as well, Kathleen Kennedy, that big head of Star Wars and still is, wink, wink, um, has hinted that it was filmed as the idea of being a standalone film, but they aren't going to rule out sequels. Now, that's
Mm.
really interesting. Filmed for a standalone. Do you think they've tweaked the script, thinking, actually, this is working really well? We need to have more of an open ended kind of finish?
Interesting comment. Interesting comment, wasn't it? I don't know because she said a lot of things about a lot of projects that we're gonna get into in a
Mm,
little bit. But as with all Star Wars, it's all continuous. It all keeps on going. There'll be elements or characters, and maybe I know they rewrote the end of the story, didn't they? I
mm.
think that came out a few weeks ago that they had to throw it away and rewrite the end. So very possibly that what they put in at the end there does lead into maybe a potential sequel. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
But it wouldn't be like Disney to think about ways of making money at all. They wouldn't change to make more money if things are working. But hey, if it's good, bring it on. That's all
Yeah.
I can say. And fingers crossed it will be. And hopefully we'll get a trailer, which I think will come out. Now, we did a bet on this. You don't think we're going to
Mm.
get a trailer. I think we're going to get a trailer with Mando and Grogu. You don't think we will.
I don't know.
Mm,
I don't. I'm worried about the potential of it overshadowing. If it's a bit of a PR own goal, if people really dislike the Mando film for whatever reason, and they go, "Oh, the trailer was good though. Why didn't they just put that out?" It's a potential gaffe as much as it's potentially building that excitement.
We'll soon find out, but I am still keeping that pizza bet going. Let us know in the comments what you think of lightsabers and lots of force sensitive people in Star Wars Starfighter. Now, moving on, talking about projects that could be greenlit and being put on the back burner. James Mangold and Andor writers Paul Williamson's Dawn of the Jedi Star Wars movie has been put on hold.
Mm.
Yes, this has come out this week by Kathleen Kennedy. She said Jay Mangold and Bo William wrote an incredible script, but is definitely breaking the mold and it's on hold. Now, as soon as she said it's breaking the mold, it's actually made me really disappointed because I said
Yeah.
this in the previous podcast. I want them to do something new. I want them to come away from the Rays and the Skywalkers, and I wanted something different, and then someone's provided something different and they've went, nope.
What is the mold, mate? Whose mold is it? It's obviously not about Kathleen Kennedy's mold because she's listed off all
Mm,
these amazing projects that she really worked hard to try and get made. I'm annoyed, like you are. I'm annoyed. It's lovely to hear that all these things are going on, but you sort of go, well, what's stopping them from being made? And Kathleen Kennedy has been made into the boogeyman for the last, what, 10, 14 years,
mm.
only to sort of find out that maybe it's Disney putting the kibosh on a lot of these projects.
Maybe. Now, obviously, Andor, I feel, was breaking the mold a little bit. It was like a
Mm,
totally different type of show that we're used to. It was more political, it was more espionage, it had a very story driven and character driven, and it got nominated for loads of awards. That broke the mold. It
mm.
did great. Everybody loved and enjoyed it. Critics loved it as well. And then they've went, oh, the guys that made Andor want to do something else. No, I don't get what they're thinking about. Now, Filoni is still creative lead, even when Kathleen Kennedy was in charge. Could he have had something to say? Actually, this isn't in my vision of where we're going, because they'll obviously know Kathleen was going to be stepping down for a while and Filoni was probably going to step up. It hasn't been an overnight thing for them. They've known about this for a while. Has Filoni went, actually, anything like this, I don't want, because it was rumored for a while that Filoni was not a fan of Andor and didn't want
Oh,
it made, and then it came out saying he didn't actually say that,
didn't,
which
mate. No.
is
I watched low clips, right? So I saw this come out being like, oh, Filoni doesn't like Andor. And I thought, I swear I saw an interview with him, like literally saying how great it was. Someone did the work that I couldn't be bothered to do and compiled like 3, 4 clips of him, like saying how great it was. The thing is, one of the interviews, he goes back to saying about how he wants to make sure it's still an access point for children and for young people, which is completely
mm,
understandable. But don't get it twisted at all. It's not that he didn't like it. He was very complimentary about it. But yeah,
yeah,
I
but
can see what you might say.
is that press talk because he does run Star Wars? Like, they all said the Acolyte was great as well. Not the hate
Well,
on the Acolyte. There were brilliant parts of the Acolyte, but overall it wasn't great. I think the story and potential of Acolyte was amazing, but they just didn't hit the mark. But they all said, "Isn't this great?" They have to say that. Is Filoni kind of going, "No, I have my vision. I'm stepping up. All of these other projects are getting shoved aside so I can have my say as soon as possible." Could that
so
be the case?
the way that Kennedy described it is that Filoni and Lynwen Brennan have had sort of an extended 2-year apprenticeship as such, where essentially they've been doing the same sort of
Mm,
role that they will be doing, just don't have final decision making. So I'd have to think that actually they've been in on these meetings and in on the decision making process. Um, yeah, I I think one of the things we've got to think about here, which I know we've been talking about in the previous episodes, is this idea of the fans, the fans. But we can't keep looking at like Star Wars fans are a monolith, mate. You know, the people that like the Acolyte aren't necessarily the people that are going to like Starfighter, or the people that liked the prequels aren't necessarily the people that are going to like the sequels. You know, and looking back at some of these comments that Kennedy is making, I'm sort of thinking to myself that you can never please all the people all the time, and this is maybe part of what is stopping films from getting developed. The studio have got shareholders, the studio being Disney, this is not Lucasfilm, have got shareholders that they've got to make sure are happy, and they've been a bit spooked by some of the social media stuff and some of the kickback online over the last few years. And if it's to be believed, they actually pay a lot of attention to the sort of stuff you see online, which is negative, sort of clickbaity sort of stuff, and maybe don't have a full understanding that this is how a lot of people drive their revenue. Um, yeah, I don't know. I really was interested in the things she said because it made me think about things that have been a little bit more differently, and made me think about that divesting of the fans. And not I'm going to try really hard not to just say the fans, because what you like and what I like won't necessarily be the same. So I'm thinking, what about the fans who are 12? What about the fans who are 20, 30, etc.? So yeah, I don't know. What do you feel about that, CJ?
I think shareholders are the death of creativity personally, because it's all about what makes us more money rather than what makes a good show. I'm always a
Mm,
believer that shows should have a good story and shouldn't go any longer than the story needs.
real.
For example, Supernatural, brilliant TV show, should have ended at season 5 because that's where the story was going. Scrubs should have ended when JD left, but Bill Lawrence said a great thing in saying, "Well, these people are like family. If I can keep them in a job for another year, I'm going to." And then the final season of Scrubs, and personally, I wasn't a fan of it. So I'm more of a believer in the story should be the focus, not the money. But that is a rant for another podcast.
I think you're
Um,
right though, dude. And I think that when you look at the appointment of Lin Wen and Dave, they are like Kennedy, acolytes of George Lucas. Lin
mm,
Wen via ILM, and Filoni specifically picked by Lucas, just like Kennedy was. And at the very core, the legacy of Star Wars and ILM is pushing the envelope, taking risks. Now, there was no real risk with The Force Awakens. There were massive risks with The Last Jedi, and it was very divisive. Uh, and that maybe worried people a bit. And then off the back of that, Solo sort of not doing as well as they wanted to do, and Kennedy even saying retrospectively it probably wasn't the right time to release it or the right time to do it. Yeah, I'm just looking at this all with a new sort of gaze now off the back of these comments.
And I'm glad you brought up Solo actually, because that brings us to the next news point where there is a Lando script.
Mm.
Donald Glover has made a script. It's been added and it's just waiting for approval. But that approval will be coming from our new leadership. I don't want to talk about the new guys too much because that's the other part we're going to talk about. But yeah, so supposedly there is a script in place, and Taika Waititi's movie has also got a script as well, which is meant to be a bit more of a fun, entertaining Star Wars movie. But again, it comes down to, because Filoni has the creative control of Star Wars, is he going to want to go back to a Lando story with Donald Glover, or does he just want to move on? Because Glover was brilliant as Lando. Solo wasn't a very big success. I enjoyed the Solo film, but wasn't great with fans and critics and the amount of money made. Do they just want to kind of have a clean slate, shove that aside, or do you think they are going to go along this way? And do you think they're going to go with Taika's?
I think Taika Waititi has got a bit of a reputation, mate, for sort of like dragging out his writing process and maybe try and milk as much money as possible. I never thought that that was ever going to come to fruition. I'd written that right off, actually. But in terms of Donald Glover, I think that there is a place for Lando in amongst the new era, shall we say? With Rebels, I think there was at least sort of 3, 4 episodes where Filoni brought in Lando,
Mm.
and his betrayal, Glover's betrayal in Solo, was really good. Really, really solid. People have been saying for a lot of years that that might even be their favorite thing about the film. So yeah,
Mm.
I could really see that coming back in. And Don Glover is obviously an incredible creative person.
Oh,
I was
yeah, he's
always,
a very talented guy. You, like, can't
oh
even
yeah,
deny the talent of that guy.
I was always worried he'd just never be able to fit it in because he was so busy. I mean, it's been what, rumored for 6 years, maybe 5 years, something like that.
Yeah, he's just doing it once every, like, 3 months or something, just adding a new page to the script and then moving on, but I'd love to see it.
The
But,
irony is, mate, he's going to be or is around the same age that Billy D. Williams was when Billy D. Williams was in his first Star Wars film now. So playing young Lando is sort of mixing and matching now, but I don't know when they're
yeah.
setting their story. So
And I feel like the Solo story needs development with, like, obviously the introduction of Darth Maul at the end and the
mm,
Syndicate and all of that sort of stuff. But is it going to be focused on that? Because that would be really cool.
yeah, it would be really cool. We spoke last week about more Shadow Lord, and I think
Mm.
hopefully I'll go into some of that stuff. But yeah, it could all we can see the linking points, we can see the connectivity, and yeah, I'd love to see Donald Glover's stuff get made because it's about taking those risks, like we're saying, and there's no way he'd be doing something that's average.
Yeah, not a chance. And moving on to the next story as well. The next trilogy may have been decided. Simon Kinberg, the creator of Star Wars Rebels, for those that aren't sure and recognize the name, it might be the next major project to go into production. Uh, and let me just read some information here. On February 27th, 2025, so just under a year ago, Kennedy confirmed that Lucasfilm was indeed producing a new Star Wars trilogy that would start a new saga and the next iteration for the franchise. That took nearly a year for them to actually confirm that, yes, this is the trilogy that is going to go forward. Like, what is going? How's it took them a year to even consider this? Has this again been something that's been discussed between the three of them, or is this that, yes, we've decided we're going to go with this, or again, is it just Kathleen saying, yes, this is something we're going to do, get shareholders going up and getting those stocks up, saying we've got a new trilogy coming, and then we hear nothing about this project ever again? And
Mm.
would you like to see a Rebels executive producer, creator, Simon's take on a Star Wars live action?
I would love to see a Star Wars Rebels creator do a live action film, mate, but I don't know if I'd like to see a Deadpool and Wolverine director do a Star Wars film. And Simon Kinberg, he's done some amazing stuff and he's done some stuff that I'm not a big fan of whatsoever. And I worry about how he's going to fit those connotations into Star Wars or what his Star Wars film looks like. Um, Kennedy said there was a 70-page treatment for it, I think. He's
Mm.
really gone into depth on it. So that could be why it took so long. But there's also this thing about whether it's Disney who tell them when they have to announce things, or whether they're announcing things when they want to. So yeah, I am a little bit on the fence about that one because as much as Star Wars Rebels is one of my favorites, Kimberg is very hit and miss for me personally. Although I appreciate that people love his work across the board.
Mm. And obviously, a lot of the Rebel characters will be appearing in Ahsoka season 2 and obviously in Mandalorian and Grogu. So hopefully it'll be a totally new story, which they're assuming it is, but is it going to be post Ray? How far in the future? Is it going to be set along around the same time, but not set around that? We honestly know absolutely nothing about this project, which is both worrying and exciting. But one thing I do know is they're not going to take any major risks with it. This is the first trilogy in a while, and that disappoints me a little bit. I want them to take a risk. They've played it very safe recently. Take a huge risk, do something new. Help us fall back in love with Star Wars because a lot of us are a bit disheartened on what's out there at times, and we just need something new. Get a new fan base, new stories, new excitement.
Yeah, Kimberg's definitely the safe hands in terms of the Star Wars stuff he's done before, for sure. But we're going to move on to it. Obviously, there has been a lot of talk about potentially more risks and more exciting projects.
Mm.
So
Yeah, but talking about new stuff, actually, they've decided to go back to the old because, and
Mhm.
I'm actually wanting the book tickets to fly across because Galaxy's Edge is getting a, well, technically a revamp, but actually it's an old vamp, and they're going to focus on the original trilogy. So starting from April 29th, 2029, Darth Vader, Han Solo, Leia, and more will be making appearances, and the sequel trilogy characters are going to be taking a bit of a step back. They're still going to be around, but not as prominent. And also, which is something I didn't realize, but absolutely awesome, John Williams' score will be playing at the parks. I'm surprised it wasn't playing already. That is
Mm.
crazy that the John Williams stuff was not playing. That's the bit that's got me going, what? That isn't already happening? But is that made you want to go at the Galaxy's Edge this year or in the future? Because I'll tell you something, I've never been to Galaxy's Edge, and all of
No,
a
me
sudden
neither.
I'm like, I
Man,
want to
I've
come to
I've wanted to
Paris.
go since it opened. I've wanted to go since it opened. But when it did open, and they said it was going to be taking part in almost an immersive experience in a very particular part of the canon, I did wonder how that would actually turn out. Because again, like we said before, this smorgasbord of eras of Star Wars, and everyone's allowed their little bit they like and dislike. And if you happen to dislike that particular era, it's going to reduce your experience to a degree. So, from what I saw, they're putting half of the park is going to be the or not half the park, half the Star Wars area stuff is going to be the sequels, and half of it is going to be the
It's kind
original
of about
trilogy, right?
2/3 are the original. It's kind of like a
Right.
third's gonna be like the Resistance where, the Resistance ride
Yeah.
is, Rise of the Resistance, I think it's called, is going to be where they're kind of focused, and then the other part of the park is going to be more the original trilogy. And I'll tell you funny, well, I say it's funny, it was heartbreaking. I booked to go to Florida, and Orlando and go to Disney World, and
Right.
I knew it was opening up, so, like, my other half booked it and everything's like, "Oh, well, Star Wars will be there," and everything like that. It opened 2 days after I left.
No. Oh.
The people going in were all of the press people.
Oh
I
man.
could see the entrance to it, and I couldn't go in. It was heartbreaking knowing booked this whole expensive holiday, got to Orlando, going to Disneyland, like, "Yeah, Galaxy's Edge." And it's like, "No, it's only open to select members of the public. It's its official opening in 2 days'
Oh
time." And I
bro.
was devastated.
Well, when they do the reopening, you better check those dates.
Yeah, if anyone wants to fund me to go to Orlando and go to Galaxy's Edge, please do, but that's highly unlikely. But that's exciting. Very exciting. So exciting, you're even getting messages saying, "Do you wanna come?"
Sorry about it, bud.
That's the invites going, "Yep, we're inviting you, but not CJ." But, yeah, that was devastating, but it's really exciting that the original trilogy, and again, I think that's probably linked to what is happening next year, which is the big Star Wars anniversary. It'd be crazy if that's not the reason why they're doing it, but
Yeah, no, totally.
yeah.
And essentially, even if you don't know Star Wars that well, you know Darth Vader, right? Uh, Mum and dad may be getting dragged to that part of the park. They may not really have a connection with Star Wars like all big fans do, and they may not know who Kylo Ren is. They may not know why the stormtroopers look a little different, But
Mm,
this means that all age groups are going to understand who these characters are and have hopefully a better experience.
yeah, indeed. So, yeah, that is kind of like the mini news roundup. Now it's time to get to some of the big news if you've been hiding under a shell. And the thing is, though, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? But what I will say is this one good thing you can do is you can subscribe to What Culture Star Wars. See how I did that plug there? But
Smooth.
you can subscribe to What Culture Star Wars to get more of these news podcasts and also check out all of the fun facts and videos of top 10 lists all about the original trilogy, the new trilogy, the TV shows. All of that is there. We have years worth of content. So why not check that out on here? Yeah, just hit that subscribe button at the bottom. There we go. Shameless plug there. See how I work that in like a pro? No one even picked up on it at all. But yes, shall we talk about it? The big big news. Lots of people are excited about it. Lots of people are jumping from the rooftops with excitement. Kathleen Kennedy has decided to step down. Dave Filoni will be co president and chief creative officer. And Lynwen Brennan will be co president alongside him, but will be doing more of the business aspects rather than the creative.
Mm.
So, jumping straight in it for you, how are you feeling in regards to the changeover? Before we talk about individuals, do you think Star Wars needs this changeover? Is this the right time, or should it have been earlier? What are your thoughts on that?
14 years is a long time for anyone in any job, regardless of how good or bad a performance you're deemed to have done. And I think it's fair to say that maybe they'd run out of rope a little bit with as things are. So, yeah, there's no harm at all in new blood coming in and someone else having a go at the reins. I'm not of the school of thought where it's like she needs to go and she needs to go now. But I can see the what good could come of fresh ideas.
Mm. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about later, and I just want to say it now to remind myself, is that she obviously oversees things, but it's the people underneath her that make a lot of decisions. And she kind of goes, yep, that sounds good. Let's go for it. It all falls on her shoulders in a sense, but there are a lot of people underneath her who made these decisions as well. And we'll
Mm.
talk about that later. But I thought we'd kind of do a brief rundown of actually Kathleen Kennedy's history and what projects she's been, main media projects, lots of comics and books and audio books and everything. We'd be here all day, but I just wanted to go down the list of projects and she took over, and we're going to kind of give it thumbs up, thumbs down, kind of what we thought of it. Now, we'll start with feature films. And the first feature film that she was involved with was The Force Awakens. Now, personally, I'm a fan of The Force Awakens. I enjoyed The Force Awakens. And a lot of people will argue, and we do have plans in a future podcast to talk about this, of, well, it was very similar story to A New Hope, similar sort of vibes. And you know what? A New Hope's brilliant. Why wouldn't they want to copy that formula? And The Force Awakens for me is a thumbs up. I actually really liked it. What about you? Would you think
Yeah,
it's a thumbs up
me
for
for
her?
me, it's a massive thumbs up, mate. It was I remember the term going around at the time was soft reboot, and I thought that was
Mm.
really applicable there because they wanted to keep that one canon going, but also reintroduce this or introduce this for the first time to like children who hadn't seen prequels or the original trilogy. You know?
Mm. But yeah, definitely a thumbs up for me, The Force Awakens. And then possibly my favorite Star Wars film, Star Wars Stories, which didn't go very far, to be fair. The whole Star Wars Stories, Brandon and everything just
Yeah.
wasn't great. But this one was Rogue One.
Yeah, I mean, surely everyone is thumbs up. I'd assume. To
Mm.
me, that's like one of the top tier Star Wars films.
Mm.
Surely.
I'd love to have seen the original edit of it though, and that's something maybe we need to discuss in the future as well. What was the original Rogue One going to be like before
Yeah.
they started refilming it? Because I love Rogue One. Again, that's a plus. That's two in the good for Kathleen Kennedy in my books. That's definitely two in the good.
There are people raging already in the comments, I'm sure, that we're giving all these thumbs up.
I'd be shocked if people are complaining about the Rogue One. Force Awakens, I'd be very interesting. And make sure you keep a tally of good and bad and put them in the comments below because we'd love to know what your good and bads are.
Oh, yeah.
This one's going to be interesting. The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Is it a thumbs up for you or is it a thumbs down?
I'm gonna caveat this one, mate. It was a thumbs up and a thumbs down because when I came
No,
out of the
no,
cinema,
no, no. I'm
oh,
not
come
having
on.
any of that neutralness.
There's no
I
neutral
want a
here.
thumbs up.
I love it, but I'm trying
Well,
to
that
explain
means
that
it's good.
but it is good, but it's just that when I came out the cinema, mate, I was like, "What the hell was that?" It challenged me. I absolutely wasn't sure if I liked it, you know? So I do understand why people do not like it, but yeah, it's actually my favorite Star Wars film now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I loved the visuals, hated the story. It's going in the bad books. I'm sorry.
It's our
People can
first
argue with
bad.
me in the comments. Yeah, I'm putting like even you were like, and if you're in the middle and I'm saying bad, it's going bad. After The Last Jedi. Well, I mean, even Kathleen said it was not good. So the
Mhm.
solo film, again, it had some good bits in it, had some interesting bits, but overall, even if Kathleen Kennedy's turning around and saying actually the solo film wasn't right, it has to
Yeah.
be in the bad.
I am gonna be annoyingly positive, and I actually liked the film, so it's a thumbs up from me, mate. I did like it.
Oh, wait there. I'm gonna do a separate list for you. Wait there. Okay. So far you're saying everything is good.
So far,
Uh,
yeah, for me.
okay. So you've got 4 good. I'm 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Rise of the Skywalker.
Mm, yeah, that's not a thumbs up for me.
No, that's definitely not a thumbs up
That's
for me
not
as well. I'm sorry.
too much crammed into one film, trying to course correct. You know, there are moments, and that's
I
me being
have
positive.
a rant about what went wrong with the 2 films after, but that is saving for another podcast. Okay. Now this one's a tough one to rate, but The Mandalorian and Grogu, which isn't out yet, she's involved in that project. Can we say it's a good idea of a good movie? I think it's
I
a good
oh,
shout.
I don't know if it should be a film, mate. I don't know if it should be a film, and I think until I see it, I can't really judge it. But I'm gonna give it a thumbs down based on I don't really think it should be a film.
Okay, I can see that. I think it should be. I think it needs the we need to breathe some new life into so doing this is good and bad decisions. So you're saying it's a bad decision doing Mando and Grogu as a film. I think it needs to breathe some new life into the movies, and I think it may do that. In that sort of realm, Star Wars Starfighter, do you think it's a good decision to make that or a bad decision? I haven't seen it yet, so I'm being hopeful. I'm in the
Yeah.
good. It's a new story.
Yeah, new story, and actually, I'll give it a thumbs up, mate, for one reason alone. It's in a time period that we get to explore.
Yeah.
Endless possibility.
Okay, so I have 4 good, 3 bad. You have 5 good, 1 bad.
Mm,
Now, this doesn't mean I hate Star Wars. I love and adore Star Wars, but I have to be a realist as well. Okay, that's feature films. Okay, so far Kathleen's not done too bad. I am
yeah.
looking forward to seeing everyone's comments. Everyone hates on her, but I want to see why. What are your justifications for the hate? We're kind of going down the list and saying good, bad, and at the minute, good is just slightly winning.
I'm
Uh,
having to be hypercritical as well, mate, because I really don't want to give everything the thumbs up and just be like
mm,
a shill, but it's hard because I love it
okay,
all.
The Mandalorian seasons 1 to 3, good or bad decision?
Seasons 1 to 2 is definitely good. I wasn't a fan of 3, so I'm gonna have to give it because the majority a thumbs up.
Okay, yeah, I've put it as a good as well. I enjoyed them. I think it broke in new ground for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like first TV show really put some like life back into Star Wars, especially with the way some of the sequel films are going.
Mm,
Um, okay, if you say bad on this one, I think I'll end the podcast.
yeah.
Andor.
Unbelievably good.
Okay,
Like,
I'm just checking because then I'd be getting a new co-host on this podcast if you said Andor was bad. That was a
oh,
brilliant decision by Kathleen Kennedy. I really enjoyed Andor.
yeah. No, me too. It's seminal TV, let alone seminal Star Wars. So
Right, this could be a decisive one. Kenobi. Was Kenobi a good show or a bad show?
I didn't like it.
I didn't like it either. I thought
Yeah,
it was too long drawn out. I feel like I want I want a Kenobi TV series.
yeah,
Ewan McGregor was brilliant in it, and I just feel the story wasn't like the Anakin Kenobi scenes, that story element, amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely amazing
Top
to see that.
moments, you know.
But some of the stuff was just drawn out and we didn't need it. But the Anakin Kenobi stuff was just
I always
amazing.
wonder with that one, mate, how much the pandemic affected the production. You
Mm,
know, a lot more was done on the volume than maybe they really initially wanted to. You know,
possibly. Well, talking about more shows, Ahsoka. Are you a
massive
fan of
thumbs up for
Ahsoka?
me, mate. That's my magnum opus. I love Ahsoka. Yeah,
I'm leaning towards the good for that. There was some elements I wasn't a huge fan of, but again, it has the potential. It'll be season 2 that make or break it for me because I feel
mm,
like it's a 2-season story. I feel like Ahsoka didn't really have, like, a typical season ending. It was just so open-ended. It
totally.
hasn't
The ending
the
was weak.
story hasn't finished yet for that.
Mm,
So I'm kind of like, it's good, but the 2nd season is gonna make or break it for me. A bit like
yeah,
Mandalorian, like, the story was going, and I thought the ending of season 2, that music when Luke appears, like, it gets
amazing.
to me.
Yeah,
Ludwig's
same, mate.
music, it gets to me, and that was like a perfect show ending for The Mandalorian. If it stopped at the end of season 2, masterpiece.
Mm. Well,
To
that's where
continue
you could argue that's where problems for the TV shows and then films moving forward started. Really,
yeah. I'd agree with that. Season 3 wasn't the greatest, but, and plus you had to see the Book of Boba Fett to well,
Yeah.
that's on my you know what? I've mentioned it. Book of Boba Fett.
Again, it's one of those ones like you said about Kenobi. It's moments of it were good. So I'm gonna
What,
have
you
to
mean
say
the bits
thumbs
that
down.
just had the Mandalorian in? Those were
Yeah,
the only moments
and
which really mattered.
it undercut what had happened in that wonderful ending of the Mandalorian. It all felt too soon.
Um, okay, The Acolyte.
I liked it. I know it's a rarity,
You are
but
too
I did like
positive.
it.
The Acolyte sucked. I'm sorry. Now let me be clear why I think it sucked. They wasted an amazing story opportunity. It was amazing setting, amazing timeline. That had some great characters in
Mm.
it, and it was wasted. I hate hating on Star Wars and stuff like that, but again, I'm a realist. Great potential. They missed the mark. Some elements were amazing,
Mm.
but they missed the mark overall. So it's in the bad books for me, but it's in the good books for you. So
If I
far,
had to
you're on.
be hypercritical of it, mate, the one thing I would say is that bit where they're telling the story out of chronological order. I feel that actually the audience would have responded better if they'd told it in chronological order, you
Mm,
know?
yeah, they missed it. They ruined it. I think this is gonna be thumbs up from me and you, Skeleton Crew.
Oh, thumbs up from me. I
Yeah,
was a
I
massive
knew
fan.
straight away that's one of
And
your
it's
favorites.
doing exactly what we wanted to do, mate. It's trying something new, it's
Yeah.
striding out and having a go at something.
So we've already done the Book of Boba Fett, but we'll
Yeah.
just mention that that really sucked. Again, just 'cause. Animated wise,
Mm.
Bad Batch.
I loved The Bad Batch, but do you know what? I'm gonna be controversial and give it a thumbs down because the ending made me so angry. They undercut everything, in my opinion. It was building up to this stuff to do with the cloning, and for whatever reason, they decided to step away, maybe because of something that's coming on down the line with films, etc., or a cross of story threads. But the ending really annoyed me. Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of the Bad Batch. I'm sorry. Tales of the Jedi, thumbs up from me.
yeah, loved
I
that.
think the purpose of it, who it was aimed at, was brilliant for kids, but actually, I enjoyed it as well. So
Mm.
that straight away gets a thumbs up from me. It did its purpose, which is brilliant. I don't know how my math is mathing here. Because I've got you is 14 in total, and I've somehow got 16, good and bad. I think I've missed a few. I don't know what's going on. We also have Star Wars Visions, huge thumbs up from me.
Yeah,
Absolutely
same.
love Visions, adore Visions. Like, I
Mm.
cannot wait for the new Visions spin-off.
No, it's
Can't
gonna
wait.
be great. And we said in the episode, was it last week, about the idea of taking them into like more series and developing these ideas beyond the sort of 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm really looking forward, especially to the Ninth Jedi.
Now, did I say Tales of the Jedi or Young Jedi before?
Tails off, mate.
Ah, I'm getting them confused. Tales of the Jedi was good. It was Young Jedi Adventures I meant.
Yeah, I
They
haven't
were
seen much
brilliant.
of that. I haven't seen much of that. I like that they're doing a High Republic thing, but yeah, I haven't. It's not aimed for me.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I'm getting there's too many Jedi titles. And then the other thing that isn't a TV show, but she she agreed to do Galaxy's Edge. She is linked to Galaxy's Edge,
No,
and
totally.
that is a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally.
There's a lot of goods here, which is surprising when there's so much hate for Kathleen Kennedy.
It's
Um,
difficult when everything you do that is good is attributed to someone else, i.e., and or Tony Gilroy, of course, who was
mm,
incredible. But if something goes wrong, oh well,
it
Kathleen
falls
Kennedy
on her
ruined
shoulders.
this.
Now, game wise, I'll just quickly rattle through these as well because we still have a lot to talk about. Star Wars Battlefront, a reboot of the classic multiplayer. That was
Yeah,
good.
it was good. The second one was better because it had a story. That was the only thing I'd say.
Yep. Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out 2 years later.
Yeah,
Yep. I'd give that a thumbs up.
still
My
playing that
favorite.
today.
Yeah. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, two thumbs up from
Yeah,
me.
I enjoyed the
Adore
first one
that.
a lot.
It's brilliant. Brilliant. Star Wars Squadrons,
Oh no, mate!
hated
Do
it.
you know what? I never got on with that. Never got on with it.
Hated it. Could
Yeah,
not get over it. Lego Star Wars,
yeah,
brilliant.
good fun.
Can't go wrong for that. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, had a
So
few issues, but
yeah, I
I
didn't
liked it.
like it. I
I
didn't like
liked
it,
it.
mate. So for me, the story just felt like it was like forced. It didn't flow
Well,
the
I
way
see
that
what you
first
did
one
there.
did.
It was
Yeah,
forced. Yeah.
that just didn't work for me, and that's okay. I think that's one of the things that um, again, from this whole situation I've taken away, it's okay if something isn't for you, right?
Mm. Star Wars Outlaws.
I
I
love
wasn't
that.
a fan.
Loved it.
I
Not
wasn't
for
the
you?
biggest of fans. I
Fair enough.
enjoyed it, but I need to finish it. I'm partway through it and
Mm.
just mm,
You
it,
haven't picked
it,
it up to finish it, so yeah, I
that
hear what you're saying.
that says it all.
Yeah.
Um, and then we have a new game coming out, which I'm excited for. You're excited for. A lot of people are. Star Wars Galactic Racer.
Yeah, get me back in that pod racer, not pod racer.
Mhm. Yeah, indeed. So when you look at it, obviously we're not including the books and the comics, which have all been hit and miss as well.
Yeah.
She's done a lot of good stuff. She's greenlit a lot of good stuff, but when the bad is bad, oh, it's bad.
But mate, if you're taking risks, ironically, although those ones that maybe we're considering bad aren't massive risks, if you're taking risks, you're never going to hit everything for everyone all the time. You know, can we be surprised that sometimes they miss? No. Can we be surprised that someone who has made so many films like Jurassic Park and E.T., The Goonies, been a
Mm.
producer on all these massive hits that they've had success? Also, no. You know,
Yeah. But I think it is the right time for her to go. I think the fandom is desperate for something new, a new direction for Star Wars, especially with the 40th anniversary coming up as well. I think it's the perfect time for her to go. You know what? I'm coming back. 40th anniversary? That's not right.
no.
Why am
50th,
I
mate.
saying 40th?
50th.
50th?
Yeah.
Why am I saying 40th? Am I getting
Pro-
confused with the previous? I don't know why I'm thinking. No, it is. Yeah, it was 40th. That's what I remember. I was celebrating the 40th, but it's 50 years of Star Wars.
yeah.
It was the 40th Return of the Jedi I'm thinking of.
Got
I'm
you.
thinking 40 years is not right.
Well, it's because they keep replaying the old ones in the cinema under these celebrations, obviously, and it's easy to get mixed up, mate.
It's
Don't
because 'cause
worry.
I'm thinking my age. Because Return of the Jedi came out the year I was born, so I'm
Ah,
kind of thinking of that, but yes, 50 years of Star Wars, apologies, yes, 50 years, and it's a big
yeah.
celebration next year, so
You're pleased for the change. I am happy that there will be people in charge who have that Lucasfilm and ILM DNA.
I've not
But
said I'm happy with the change,
no,
which we'll come to later. Okay, so
okay,
I'm gonna ask you a question, and I want people in the comments to answer as well, but I'm gonna ask you this in a bit. But first of all, let's talk about the people taking over. So, first off, Lynwen Brennan, a little history backstory. She joined Industrial Light and Magic in 1999 as a technical area leader during the production of the Phantom Menace. So she joined during the Phantom Menace. She
mm,
eventually served as president of Industrial Light and Magic about 10 years later. So 10 years later, she really worked her way up. And she did that until 2015. Um, and then she became general manager of Lucasfilm from 2015 until present. And it was Kathleen Kennedy that brought her in to oversee the day-to-day operations of the Lucasfilm businesses, which is probably what she's going to be doing uh, the same, whereas handle the day-to-day business over Filoni, who will be taking more of the creative side. She played a key role in the widespread adoption of the stagecraft volumetric technology, which is obviously what they shoot a lot of the Mandalorian, like the volume. She's a big part of making that happen, which is amazing.
mm.
Absolutely amazing that that's come about. But yeah, she knows her stuff when it comes to running day-to-day business, the special effects side, yes. Is it enough to lead the whole of Star Wars as a franchise?
I think it's interesting they've selected two people, mate.
Mm,
The idea that it's going to take maybe more than one brain to do this, and as you said earlier, lots of people beneath. Um, I think what really matters is values, and all the things you said there push the envelope. You know, and if
mhm,
we want them to take these big swings to change the story and do bold things, you know, someone who's brought in revolutionary stagecraft or has been at the helm of ILM.
Mhm.
I'm pretty confident they hold the right values at least.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just expected Filoni to do this by himself, but I love the fact that she's coming in because she has a bit of a different background, which is going to complement Filoni in that side. And talking about Filoni, let's get a bit of his history before I ask you a big question.
Okay.
So Filoni joined in 2005 to help build the company's animation division. So it's interesting that Lucas brought him on and Kathleen Kennedy brought on Brennan,
Yeah.
which I always think is quite interesting. The Clone Wars was his first project that went on for 12 years overall. He helped run and be in charge of Star Wars Rebels, The Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi, Star Wars Resistance. And then in 2019, he made his live action debut as director and executive producer of The Mandalorian. So he moved to live action in 2019. That's not that long in terms of business wise.
No, it's true.
Um, and then in 2023, just recently, which I think is when they knew Kathleen Kennedy was going to start stepping down, he
Mm,
became chief creative officer, which given him the creative oversight of all the upcoming films and television projects in the franchise,
yeah.
which means that The Mandalorian and Grogu and Star Wars Starfighter are his projects, really, not Kathleen Kennedy's.
Well, she described it as having one foot out the door in part of the interview, I noticed. So,
Mm,
although she would probably have had final say, I can't imagine if Filoni had said, no, I don't think this is a good idea, I'm pretty confident it would have stopped. So, yeah, I think it's fair to attribute as much to him as to her there.
mm. Now, this is the big question, and this has been bugging me, and this is what I've wanted to
Go on.
discuss on this podcast. And I believe I sent this to you in the DM, and I've got it on my notes here. Was hiring within the best move, or should they have hired someone external to give Star Wars a much needed refresh? Now,
Yeah.
let me just recap my thinking on this before I get your answer. Filoni is very much in the Lucas school of thought. Brennan is very much in the Kennedy school of thought. A lot of Star Wars weren't happy with Lucas from the Phantom Menace onwards, and that probably led to him leaving and selling it to Disney. Kathleen Kennedy brought us the sequel trilogies, which people weren't very kind of happy with. So you have two proteges, in a sense, from the two previous Star Wars runners
Mm.
taken over. Is having people that are old school Star Wars when fans like I'm sorry to say this, but the majority of Star Wars fans are not happy with Star Wars at the minute. Is having people that are in the old school Star Wars mindset the right people to push Star Wars forward? Or should we have got someone external from somewhere else, new vision, new ideas to drive Star Wars forward? I'll let you go first if you have your answer before I
Yeah.
share mine.
Well, my point of view, mate, is that what really matters is upholding Lucas's sort of legacy. Like I was saying about pushing the envelope when it comes to story, pushing the envelope and taking big swings with technology. And between the two of them, they've got that covered. I hear that lots of people aren't happy with lots of things that have happened in the last 14 years. And I do understand that. But I really think that the comments that Kennedy made on the way out sort of confirmed a bunch of stuff about, hey, actually, we are trying to make these stories for you guys that are across all different eras, that are completely and utterly off the wall and a bit different, but they're very rarely getting through. Um, I think that someone like Filoni, for example, while people criticize him for having Ahsoka in every project or whatever, um, he's done some real weird stuff, right? The Mortis gods, the stuff that he did in Star Wars Rebels and the Cosmic Force and the World Between Worlds, and now with Ahsoka as well. He's not adverse to taking risks. Um, so yeah, I feel that between the two of them, they're going to uphold the values that I understand Star Wars to be. And the only thing I do worry about is they don't have that power that a massive producer like Kennedy had to go to Disney and say, no, this is going to work. And I've got this back catalogue of years and years of work. Because if they were saying no to her, why are they going to say yes to Dave Filoni and the new lady? Sorry, I've mislaid her name, Lynwen Brennan.
See, I'm going to be very controversial here, and I'm going to say I don't think it was the right move. I think Brennan and Filoni are brilliant, D- absolutely brilliant in their fields. Like her running the business day to day, absolutely brilliant. Filoni knows Star Wars in and out. He's had some real creative vision, but is it enough to get Star Wars where we need it right now? Personally, I think no. I think they needed more experience of running a franchise like this. Like she's been like the general manager, as it were, for a while. Filoni's only been creative kind of officer, whatever. Yeah, chief creative officer for not even 2 years, just over
Mm.
2 years. So is that enough to run one of these huge, massive franchises? Like, think of it, Kevin Feige. Like, we needed someone of his ilk come in fresh and just give Star Wars a kick in the backside.
I
Did we
don't
need
know the
more
answer,
budget?
mate, but I would be interested to know what Feige's situation was before he did Marvel and how much experience he really had and whether it's comparative to Filoni.
Well, when he came into Marvel, Marvel was brand new. They didn't know if it was going to work and everything. Like Marvel Studios, I should say,
Yeah.
like they'd had some success with Blade and the X-Men outside of Marvel Studios,
Mm.
but they hadn't done a whole this is all connected in the style of Star Wars. But I don't know. I want to be hopeful. I want to eat my words and I want to go, you know what? They've done it. I want that. I want Star Wars to be great again. I want to be excited for movies, for TV shows. And at the minute, I don't have that excitement. When they're saying we've got a new trilogy coming out, I'm like, okay,
Believe it when I see it, right?
yeah. Now, the trust, I think it's fair to say we love Star Wars, but the trust has gone a little bit. And can they give us what the fans want? And
Yeah.
again, I'm not talking about everything has to fit to me. There are different audiences and different people's likes. I am talking Star Wars movies,
Mm.
a good entertaining, good versus evil story, maybe some lightsabers thrown in, a bit of force, like a good Star Wars movie. And when they announce new movies, my trust is gone at the minute. I don't know
I
what
think
they're
that's fair,
doing with
mate.
it.
I think it's fair. I mean, Kennedy as much alludes to that in her exit interview, and the fact that she has to reel off the sort of like long list of films or trilogies that were announced that didn't come to fruition. I mean, it doesn't help that all these things got announced.
Mhm.
How many things are going on behind the scenes at other franchises that never get announced, that then never come to fruition? So the public have no idea. So it doesn't become sort of a problem per se.
But again, a lot of that is we have to announce these projects to get that little share going up and get
I
the money,
know.
which I understand they've got to do like the big events and announce them at D23 and Star Wars Celebration because it does come down to money. But again, shareholders are the death of creativity. And I feel like the Disney takeover, they haven't took as many risks and it showed. And maybe now Disney are going, you know what? Maybe we do need to take some risks.
It
But
was really interesting that she said, that when she took over the job, or when the Disney takeover happened, because she was in job before Disney takeover by Lucas.
mm,
Um, Iger said to her, "Take big swings, take risks," And of course, he was then replaced by Chapek, and there was hemorrhaging of money. And he's come back in, and the first thing he does is set up Skeleton Crew, so it'll be in the next financial year. So everyone has to wait for another year, so it looks like a monetary win straight away, and
mm,
just reject all of these films that have seemingly been, queued up. Something has changed there, definitely, and it's not purely because Galactic Star Cruiser failed.
yeah.
It's a changing of the financial environment or the ethos at Disney, which has just made it impossible for Star Wars to take the risks that it's renowned for.
I'm staying hopeful. I do like Filoni. I think he's a brilliant storyteller. He knows the Force, and Brennan knows it when it comes to visuals, effects, and everything like that. So the potential is there to have great story-driven movies with great visual effects, and them two working together, which is probably the reason why they hired them,
Mm.
could really make some amazing films. But again, it comes down to are they getting in the right directors? Are they
Oh,
getting in the right producers? Are they getting in the right kind of stars for these movies?
this is why I'm so annoyed about it, mate, because you say about the right directors. Del Toro was going to do a Jabba the Hutt film.
Mhm.
Ryan Coogler was mentioned by Kathleen Kennedy, and if anyone's seen Sinners, they know how. And Black
Soderbergh was it
Panther.
as well? Was it Soderbergh?
Yeah, well, he was down to do the Ben Solo film, which hopefully,
Mhm.
fingers crossed, touch wood, will still happen. Mangold, you mentioned earlier. Ryan Johnson, I'm a massive fan of. Obviously, his
Mm.
trilogy evaporated, and Kennedy said that he got spooked. He the next day said he absolutely didn't get spooked. So I don't know what happened there. But all these are like top-notch directors known for taking risks, right?
Yep.
And none of their projects have happened. I mean,
It's
there are valid criticisms to be made of Kennedy, but you never hear the valid criticisms. You don't hear the criticism saying, "What was she thinking trying to release Solo the same weekend as Endgame?" Or whichever, it wasn't Endgame, was it? It was
mm,
another one of those Avengers films. But what was she doing? And retrospectively, she said that was a mistake. The criticisms you hear are never the valid ones.
yep.
And Disney have evaded all this criticism for years, and she's just been the boogeyman. Everyone's been blaming her.
Could Filoni have been the one as chief creative officer? Like he got that role 2 years ago. These projects were obviously around that time. As he
Mm,
went, no, this isn't my vision for Star Wars, and he is the one that said no. And Kennedy has been the one that's had to do the final. Okay, user getting the chop, which again worries me. Is Filoni going to stick with his idea of Star Wars, or is he going to be willing to take risks? Because he always goes back to the
mm,
Star Wars stories that he tells because in his mind that is the Lucas Star Wars universe. And I'm not to argue, maybe that is the Lucas Star
yeah.
Wars universe, but the Lucas Star Wars universe is not working at the minute.
Well, he adheres to key principles which he learned from George, and he's
Mm,
very vocal about them. And then he teaches them to other people. I've seen Freddie Prinze Jr. similarly
mm,
sort of go on. It's almost like a doctorate. But I would say to people, check out those interviews of him talking about Andor, because he talks in glowing terms, and he talks
mm,
about how the stories can be made for all different people within Star Wars. He just doesn't want it to lose sight that the core story has to appeal to this demographic, because that's how
mm.
it started. um, I don't think he's adverse to taking risks, and his storytelling has taken lots of risks in the past, albeit in the framework that obviously people are saying is very Filoni-esque.
Mm. Now, I know we could talk about this more, but we are actually coming towards the end of the podcast, and we always like to finish on some of your thoughts. So please let us know in the comments your thoughts on this takeover because we will discuss this again in a future podcast. But I did actually put a post on the YouTube. There is a community post. So please check this out if you ever want to submit stuff for the podcast. I asked people's thoughts on the downstep of Kathleen Kennedy. And the Chancellor 212 said, I think this is the right step. She's obviously a good producer, but that doesn't make her the right person to creatively oversee a franchise. And she's shown that's not among her talents. Do you agree or disagree with this? She's an amazing producer,
Well,
but didn't have the creative oversight.
she's only had 4 films out of 5 in the top 50 grossing films of all time for Star Wars. She didn't do the full sweep.
Yeah.
Look, people are always going to not like story choices because we all have our own idea as to what makes a good story. The fact that people keep coming back, even though it has been, like you say, not broadly well received, suggests that something right has been done. Um, you know, you, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe I'm too Kathleen Kennedy positive about this because lots of people have very negative views, and I'm hoping that balances it out in the middle somewhere. But yeah, no, I can't get on board with that comment, unfortunately.
Yeah. Next one, Maki Lispeda, 9003. I hope I said that right. Apologies if I did not. Dave got to hire real directors. He's a great creative, but execution can be improved. Not just him. George Lucas isn't a very good director, so isn't a very good director either. So he's basically
Mm,
saying Lucas and Filoni aren't the best directors,
yeah,
good creatively, but we need better directors. I agree with this. I
me
think
too.
we need some, well, we've just said loads of great directors put forward some stories and they quashed them. They just went, nope, not doing this.
Lucas was a visionary, mate. He didn't want to direct those films.
Mm,
He what was it? He had Kasdan and guys do the original trilogy, and
yep.
he tried to get people to do the prequel trilogy, but couldn't find people he was happy with, so just went with it. But yeah, a great visionary doesn't make a great director, and I
Yep.
think yeah, like we've covered, we need more outstanding directors to be given the chance to tell their stories.
And finally, Kasumi Rina says, amazing career in producing so many legendary movies, many of them the top among grossing films of all time, from
Mm.
Jurassic Park to Rogue One. Shame Disney refused her pitch for the Ben Solo flick.
Yeah,
Yeah, again, it's coming down to fans agree with us where they are saying they've quashed a lot of what could potentially be great films. It seems like the choices Kathleen's made has hindered the movies. I think the TV shows of An Acolyte really have all been brilliant. I think TV shows they've nailed, they've done really well. The movies is where they've missed. And as I've said in previous podcasts, you think if you look at Star Trek, Star Wars, Star Trek, you always think have the best TV shows. Star Wars always have the best movies. Where are the movies? Star
yeah.
Wars always comes down to the movies.
I think as well it's worth considering broader, mate, over the time, the 14 years. It has been an era where there has been a real bereft of sort of like original ideas in cinema. You know, I think it was last year was the first time that in the top 50 or top 100 of the films all year, there wasn't a single original idea.
Mm.
Um, so, you know, it's a difficult time to be telling risky brand new stories. I was always amazed that Andor even got greenlit, to be
Yeah,
fair.
but the thing is, though, we're talking about taking risks. That's like a totally new IP, something that no one's ever thought of. This
Mm,
is Star Wars. You have a franchise here that is well
totally.
loved. It's the perfect franchise to take risks with. Do
Oh, I
something
agree.
different. Don't sit back and go, oh, it's Star Wars. People will just come and see it, which is true, they will. But
Yeah.
take a risk. Do something different. Andor was a huge risk. When I heard Andor was coming out, I was like, really?
Yeah, well,
I don't think I'm gonna enjoy that.
the
And
classic was,
and
why are they gonna do that? Why aren't they doing a Darth Vader series?
yeah.
You know, who wants to see some guy who's a spy?
Yeah. And look, I ate my words. I was
Yeah.
wrong, and I'm happy I was wrong. I will happily turn around and say I was wrong. I gave it a chance. I didn't go, well, I hate it, so I'm not going to watch it. I
Mm,
didn't like the idea of it. Watched it, totally wrong. Hold my hand up. You know what? Andor was brilliant. I was wrong to be non-trusting. But again, it comes down to I'm not trusting Star Wars as much as what I am.
yeah.
And I want to have that trust back. Get The Mandalorian Grogu great, get Star Wars Starfighter great, and my trust will come back to Star Wars so fast.
I think it's still gonna be a bumpy road, mate. You know, all the conversations we've had about the Mandalorian and Grogu, and the fact that it was sort of like a TV series forced onto the screen for financial reasons from Iger. You know, I do think it's going to be still a little bit bumpy between this potentially Starfighter, and how long, you know, before Filoni really gets his fingerprints on what's in the cinema. I mean, is it going to be immediately? I'm not sure. I know he said this two
Think
year.
movies take at least 2.5 years to like you'll fast track something. It
Yeah,
will take a while to get in. So we're not going to see the impact movie-wise, possibly for 2, 3 years as him as the big runner. But creative-wise, he's been the creative lead since 2023. So anything coming out from now onwards, he had creative lead on it. So it's still Filoni based.
there was no mention as well, I notice, about the Filoni film, the Heir to the Empire film that's been mooted. In all
Mm.
the projects that Kathleen Kennedy went through, she covered the whole base, but didn't cover that. Now, does that mean that that's because it's Dave's
There
project
I
and
have
he's
seen
holding it
things
back? Or
online where they've said that is getting cut now.
oh, that would be a real shame, mate.
I
That would
have
be a
seen
real
some things,
shame.
but I didn't know if it was trusted or not, so I didn't actually look
Mm.
into the sources for that, so I don't wanna put this as
Well,
fact,
I'm
but I did
hoping
see
that
some
she's just
posts on
leaving
it.
it for Dave to talk on, as he'll
Mm.
still be in situ, you know? But I did think it was conspicuous by its absence.
Well, that does bring us to just over the hour mark, and I always like to have these at about an hour. I feel like we can discuss this more, and we will discuss this more in the future. So please let us know in the comments your thoughts, so that way we can discuss them further and whether we agree or disagree. But overall, I think Kathleen's tried her best. She's got a lot of great things in that list. When we went down, there was more good than bad, but obviously people remember the bad. But not that she's going to watch this, but thank you, Kathleen. We still have Star Wars. The franchise is still going. It could have disappeared. It could have died. It's not. She's done everything she could with it. She's moved on. She's still going to be a producer. And maybe as a producer, she will help us get some more hits. But yeah, it's the Filoni Brennan era now. It'll probably take a year or two to come into effect. But I'm here for it. Help me, Star Wars. You're my only hope. Bring back the trust. I need you. But Luke, any final thoughts before we finish off?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, we're in great hands creatively. I think they're going to maintain the values of Star Wars, and my real worry is about the Disney choices behind all this. And I'm hoping that people are taking from that Kathleen Kennedy interview how difficult a job it was for her, and looking back at what she's done, like we have here, and seeing, do you know what? The franchise was dead when she came in. It had been on hiatus. There were some books of varying quality, and they've cherry picked the best of that. They've made some films, they've made some TV series, and it's reignited it, and from here, the sky's the limit.
Or even the stars. And on that note, we will end it. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let us know in the comments what you thought. And as always, may the force be with you.